Welcome to the Unnamed podcast. I am Nick Holmes, and today with me we've got a special guest in studio.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Elmo. Hi, Nick.
Hi, how you doing? This is a lot weirder than you guys think it is.
Elmo loves you. And you're so pretty.
Well, thank you, Elmo.
Elmo wants to know how you feel.
I feel very uncomfortable at the moment.
Why?
Well, Elmo, let's talk about feelings.
Elmo wants to give you kisses.
Yep. Okay. I don't know how to act at this moment. This is a new level for me right now. Welcome to the Unnamed podcast. My name is Nick Holmes. I'm sitting here today with
Regan Wise. What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? And we have our special guest today. Forgot your name again. Sorry, bud. Jeffrey. All right, Jeffrey. Your company is
the Gutterman of Tampabay.
Gutterman of Tampabay.
I like that name. That's a very strong name.
Yep.
So let's simply put it, it's gutters,
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. Well, what else are we bringing to the table besides the Gutterman?
Gutters are everything to us. Cleaning, install, repair. We also do soffit and fascia, but gutters definitely take up almost all of our work.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And where is the majority of your work happening?
So I live in Dunedin. We're based out of Dunedin.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of work, all Pinellas, Hillsborough, and into Pasco County. But definitely, the majority of our work, I would say, is Dunedin, Palm Harbor, Safety Harbor areas.
Awesome.
Plans of growth?
Absolutely. It's slow and scaled, but yeah, absolutely.
Does anyone not plan to grow?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that.
We need to get into that because that's an interesting segment of people to me. Are happy with just doing what they do. And
so I put a lot of thought into it actually as to how big I want to be and don't want to be, because I think it's important. For me personally, and my personality and my goals, I like to be busy. I don't have a plan. I'm not trying to retire by 40 or something like that. I'm not trying to flip the business and sell it. I like being, busy and my mind challenged and making connections with customers, and that stuff is fun to me, and being a part of the community. And so it's not just about growth, but grow in the right way so that I can put myself in a position to enjoy my job and not just focused on, revenue.
To be rude, how old are you?
32.
32. Wow. You youngins. So I will say this. There is always a plan. There's always got to be an exit strategy, right? And then how are you going to plan that exit strategy? And then is that going to be conducive to your retirement? Or are you that type of person that can do that? Me and Nick have this struggle all the time.
It's a recurring conversation.
Because our minds are one of those, I'm sure like yours are as well as an entrepreneur, where I promise it won't stop.
Yeah.
So do you even have an exit plan yet?
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't reached that point.
Nope.
So I know you'd mentioned when we were talking off camera a little bit earlier that you've only had this company for about 2 years now.
Yep.
Okay. So in those 2 years, I would assume you're still probably pretty active on the job sites, actually dealing with the customers, or what's your...
As much as possible. I have to make sure I'm getting to the point where I got to make sure I'm focusing on working more on the business and less in it.
Right.
But yeah, year one was about don't sink the ship for me. Year two was let's make these processes better. And now I'm about to roll into year three, and I'm ready to start ramping things up and really starting to see, what we can do.
What's your staff now?
I have about 4 to 5 guys in the field. I have a receptionist, and then my mom helps me a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
And then me.
Are you a hoverer, or do you let your guys?
No, big boy rules as long as you're getting your job done.
Right.
That's awesome.
You customer service a lot of the people, or is that kind of your staff that does that?
Customer service as
meaning because I think people, they can get disconnected from being in their positions, right? Like Nick, we'll use Nick's company as a drafting company. Nick's built a pretty phenomenal drafting company. At the end of the day, he has staff that can handle those things, where then he can concentrate on other things. So that's why I was asking, are you still involved with that day to day versus?
I am.
Okay.
I talk to customers one-on-one a lot daily. I'm trying to get away from speaking to basically every customer because I don't have the time for it. But I still love connecting with customers, and I mean that's what I should be doing and enjoy doing.
If you didn't have the time for it, does your staff have the capability to be who you are to the customer?
That's a great question. I would say no, not yet. But that goes back to priorities I put on developing them. Like I was blessed with a lot of opportunity. I had great parents. I had my time in the military is to grow myself and my leadership skills. So now I need to invest back into them, have them reading the right books and getting rewarded for it, have them going to training, have them making sure they know what's important to me. They say dogs are like their owner, or owners are like their dogs, or dogs are like their owners, right? I feel like it's kind of the same way with business. Like my business is going to become an outwardly, I guess, image of who I am.
Well, your goal is your employees to be extensions of you, right? Like ultimately, that's the goal. But it's hard to instill in employees who you are as a human being. Do they have the same moral compass, same direction, same mindset, same energy?
Yes.
It's tough.
I mean, a lot of that I think comes back to core values too. I mean, if you're really striving on telling your employees what your core values of the company are, that's what sets up everything else along the way. Yeah. So I think you're doing it exactly the right way.
It's it's the biggest deal to me. We have conversations probably monthly about like, I would rather you not know how to do gutters at all and be a good human, because that's what's going to make the difference sticking around. Mm-hmm. I can make core values all day, but at the end of the day, if they, it's going to depend on who they're surrounding themselves with out of work, what their home life is like. Are they living paycheck to paycheck, or what are they spending their money on? What are they spending their time doing? Mm-hmm. Because that stuff outside of work inevitably just affects at work.
So, I don't think people give enough credence to financial literacy of staff. We've had some staff in the past that living it tight and had problems the entire time, that kind of stuff. But it's that kind of stuff doesn't stop at home, right? It definitely carries over to the actual work day and can definitely change the way certain things happen.
So this is where I struggle, because I think that you should have some detachment, right? There was a time where you just want to be liked and loved and adored by your employees, but I think there should be a detachment because of that. Because at the end of the day, if they feel that, I understand that you want people to come to you if they're in trouble, but it can't be all the time, and you can't be that accessible. And if you're too accessible, you kind of devalue who you are becoming too accessible, right?
I think it's become, it's also dependent on the size of your company and then who
absolutely
you are.
the age of the company as well. Like as a startup, I think you have to be.
Like
it's the nature of the beast. But until you can kind of really focus on that culture and actually develop employees to kind of take over, some of your day-to-day tasks, it's impossible not to be.
Okay, I like it.
So going into your business here, I mean, you're talking pretty much everything gutters. I know you're saying you do some residential and a little bit of HOA stuff as well. Do you see yourself expanding into any type of other aluminum work as far as screen cages or anything like that?
I guess that would be either spreading the area or spreading scope of work, right? I haven't, I guess, really put a whole lot of thought into that long-term plan because I'm still in the early stages.
You mentioned you don't really do a whole lot of marketing at all, right?
I don't.
So
why? What is that, and how? How?
Well, for one, I bought the business 2 years ago. The Gutterman of Tampabay had a great name, great reputation, and honestly, for me personally, I just thought about what works for me, what sells me personally on a business. And it's not seeing a billboard. It's not seeing their face or their name on a sign. It's connecting, it's a friend referring them because they trust them. And if I trust that friend, I trust them, and or meeting an individual personally. So for me, it was about getting my face, my name, and hey, this is who I am as a person. Therefore, this is my business. And
Okay.
so
That's something that's always kind of interested me too, is the decision to buy a company rather than go ahead and just start a company, right?
yeah.
So like it makes sense when you're saying that you're buying the brand, you're buying a reputation, but to me, I probably wouldn't have given that a whole lot of thought getting into it. If I saw, okay, well, gutter guy at Tampa works, I'm now the gutter dude of Dunedin,
I struggled with that.
Yep, that's Nick.
I struggled with that and that decision and how to go about it. I definitely come from, I was very poor, I was poor growing up. I came from blue collar family. And so the idea of spending as much money as I did on a business, that was never something I thought would be an option for me. And I have a partner too, and we can go into that. But at the end of the day, I had a home with a mortgage, and I was planning on starting a family very soon. And the idea of not having an income just wasn't an option. So this was the better route for me personally. And after my time in the military, I was 30, and it's not like I was 20 and seeing if I can make it. I was 30.
So there's a difference to start from absolute zero to start with something that's got a little bit of steam behind it already.
What came with the business when you bought it?
Trucks, ladders, blowers,
Okay,
essentially
so-
the equipment,
okay.
some materials. But other than that, I mean, the name really, and a database of customers. Some repeat customers, obviously,
Right.
Repeat cleanings, and then the reputation.
So would you consider yourself a service-based business then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What else would there be? I mean,
Well, I mean, so to me, I don't really consider like construction service, right? I see construction as, when I'm saying service-based business, I'm saying a business that someone's going to call repeat services for, something that's,
right.
kind of facilitating the upkeep and maintenance of a home.
I see what you're saying. But even a gutter install isn't repeat, but it's still, I mean, we're providing a service to them, and
I don't know. I mean, my gutters have been reinstalled 3 times. For some reason, we can't figure out how to get that pitch just about right to where I keep on flooding out my corners.
But you do the maintenance of it as well, so cleaning out the gutters?
we do
So that's that like a monthly membership type thing?
Depends on the property and how many, with their tree situation. And we have properties we clean. We have properties we clean once a month, but only for 6 months of the year. We have some that we do once a year.
Right.
Or a lot of associations or homeowners get on once a quarter.
Is that in your CRM to call them to remind them, or is that okay?
It is, yeah. All that mean, I don't even have people sign contracts. What I do is I just tell them, would you like to get on auto repeat cleaning? And then it's in my CRM. I know to call them in February, and so they're on my schedule for February. And all it means is I call them instead of them calling me, and say, hey, it's
now,
time.
with a lot of those type of people, do you target snowbirds that are coming back and saying, hey, we'll prep the house, make sure it's all good for you before you get here?
I don't. Probably just because I don't do marketing, but
Okay.
I don't really have a target per se.
I'm trying not to jump like a lion in a cage. What if you did marketing? Would it be too much? You think you wouldn't be able to handle the flow of business at that point? Like, why are you reluctant to go all in and say, I'm here. The Gutterman of Tampabay is everywhere.
It's not that I'm necessarily opposed to it.
Right.
It's just, I guess, my strategy. I enjoy meeting people and want to have that personal relationship. I think marketing.
You're still going to have that personal relationship. It's just the marketing's going to get them to pick up the phone first.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You're also talking to us about you want to grow your company. You're only going to grow so much with that word of mouth. Stop me if I'm wrong.
Oh.
Right. Okay. So
I think there's going to come a point where I'm definitely going to.
Right.
I just haven't needed to.
when
yet.
is that moment? That's what I want to know.
It's a fair question.
So after we leave today, we'll go ahead and get set up.
We're not trying to sell you anything,
Yeah.
Ape Shot Productions. No, seriously, it's not that at all. I'm just kind of curious because I hear from people all the time, man. And you're young, which is fantastic, but they don't have that plan in place. And I want to grow, and I want to make this, I want to make that, Regan, I'm stagnant. I'm not saying you said this. Regan, I'm stagnant, but Regan, I'm this, or Regan, I'm that, or Nick, help me with this, or help me with that. What are you doing? Well, I'm not marketing. So, I mean, I tell everyone, you said the same thing. You're a marketing company first before anything else. You've heard me say this, I guarantee it. You're a marketing company first. And if you don't have that mindset, you're going to live in a stagnant growth pattern. So
I think, like I said in the beginning, I think for me, year one was literally my motto was don't sink the ship.
Right.
Year two was I got to make it better before I make it. I got to make it mine in year two, and then now I'm starting to ramp up, and so I do think that's going to become something that's important to me.
Right.
Just it hasn't yet.
well, yeah, it's there.
There's a lot to juggle too when you start getting into that. I mean, with any new business, you get so many balls in the air at one point in time that sometimes it is a focus thing, right? You got to focus on what's going to go ahead and keep on bringing the paychecks in, make sure that all the staff's fed, and then you can go ahead and start focusing on growth.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's also a con to going too fast. And I've seen it over and over again, and you're put yourself in a predicament. So you gotta make that balance.
So, talking about your specific type of business, the reason I asked you about the screen company and stuff like that, I've got a little bit of a background in that.
Okay.
I worked for a screen enclosure company, and we did gutters and fascia and pools and all kinds of stuff. But in that, I remember the staff was kind of an issue for us just because we had high turnover, especially on the gutter side. Just 'cause it's really not an overly stimulating, engaging process of putting up gutters on a house, right? So
My lead installer would argue with you, but
okay,
But-
listen, for some people,
you're right.
maybe
Though.
that's the
You're,
thing,
you're,
right?
you're right.
So I'm assuming. Do you guys have a lot of turnover? Or is it a lot of the same staff that you started with?
No, I lost my first employee that I had to let go a week or two ago. I got the same employees when I bought the business. That was extremely important, right? You buy this. I mean, I paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
You buy this name, your reputation. You have these guys. Now, step one: do not earn the respect of the employees, because if I lose them.
Can I ask why you lost him, or you can't get into that?
He was having some personal issues.
Okay.
I mean, well, I can't. I'm not.
It's okay.
It was drinking.
Okay.
I mean, I can say that it was alcohol. And which led to.
Did you try to nurture and fix prior?
Oh man, lots of chances. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I mean, you did it. So you did everything in your power.
Yeah. He missed a lot of days and constantly. This can't happen. This isn't who we are. I can't trust you. I got to be able to. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is a guy that's been with the company for a decade, and so it hurts. It hurts my company. It hurts me personally to even do that.
How long did you let this go on?
Too long,
Probably
Regan.
too long.
And
It's
then
always too long.
now you're
Because he was
showing.
valuable.
But I understand that, but now you're showing a tolerance to your other employees
Absolutely.
of what you
Well,
tolerate.
not only that, I mean, especially on a situation like that, where I'm sure you guys have kind of designated crews. These guys drive with each other all the time.
Yep.
For that one guy that's missing out all the time, it's putting all the extra work back on those same crew. You really run the risk of losing the entire crew if you don't fix the problem,
Good
right?
point. And the negativity it brings.
Right.
Yeah.
But I left it open-ended for him to get his life together. I tried my best to help him, and then I told him, hey, you bring me a 1-year chip, we'll talk about a job again.
That's awesome. So going into a little bit of your background, I mean, especially talking about kind of just foundations and character. You mentioned that you did time in armed service, right?
I did.
Yeah. What was that like? I mean, how long were you actually in that? What
I did.
branch were you in?
So I went to Florida State University first, joined their ROTC program. I did 4 years in that. I got a 3-year scholarship through them. Just an amazing program. Not enough people know about it.
Wow. Nice.
Then I commissioned straight into the Army as an officer. I could speak forever about how awesome that just whole opportunity is. And then spent 4 years at Fort Bragg in North Carolina as a logistics officer, transportation to be specific. Most of my soldiers were forklift operators and truck drivers. And then from there, I moved here.
So logistics in the Army is mostly like how do we get this stuff from here to where it needs to be, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So loading trains, loading ships, and loading planes.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
That's cool. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Do you feel like that played into kind of how you set your company up to run? I mean, did you take anything from that, or?
I'd say mostly no. I grew up with a lot of all those values that the Army teaches it and everything. Fortunately, I had that already instilled in me from, yes ma'am, no sir, that kind of environment growing up. Wash your truck and, oh, you didn't do it well enough, do it again. So the biggest thing I took from my time in the military was it gave me a sense of I may not know how to do this. I may not know what things I need, but I'll figure it out. So I think that being an officer in the Army really just gives you the confidence to say I can do anything. I'm going to need some time to resource people and whatever, but I know that I can accomplish whatever.
I kind of feel like that's the mantra of small business though in general,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, at a certain point when you start a new company, there's nobody coming to save you.
No. And there's a lot of things still. I've never taken a business class. I have a degree, but no, QuickBooks or business, anything, right? So it's literally just do this and figure it out.
But the knowledge is out there to seek.
Yes.
In today's world, especially. I was telling Nick, I was having a conversation this morning with actually another barn door company in upstate New York, and here I am. What are we? 1,500 miles away, and talking to a younger generation. We're actually able to have a Zoom call. That was not available 10, 15 years ago, where you're just able to reach out and do that. I mean, you'd be looking for mentors in the area, very few information you can even get. It's a different world now, man.
Look, I'm saying it right now. This is the day that Regan gave away all of our company secrets.
It did not happen, I promise. But you know what he did say? He learned more in a 45-minute conversation than he has in 3 months with another consultant. Oh. Because I think a lot of people, they just lead people on and they drag them along, when in actuality, we just need to give the information out, and then if they don't implement, like we talk about, it's not going to work.
It's also hard to vet the people that are consultants, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's...
Because you can be a good salesperson and come out as
you can be a
energetic,
fantastic salesperson, not actually have a whole lot of knowledge in the industry that you're trying to coach in.
Correct.
So...
Correct. I mean, but the thing is, like, let's be real. Construction's not new to us.
Right.
Barn doors were new to us.
Yep.
But what did we do? We put our heads down and we did our research and we learned what we needed to learn in order to build. And we're still learning as the process goes on. That's just real talk, folks.
Yeah, for the residential side, but when you
Right.
start really getting into barn doors at the heart, like,
Yeah.
it's what we've been doing in commercial industry
Yep.
for
Forever.
decades. This isn't.
Yeah.
It's really not a new concept.
It's not at all.
But
The
that's
marketing
also
is new.
that's also why we stopped and said, okay, we're only doing red iron,
Right.
Right? Because
Right.
the other three industries are a little bit different on the barn door side, and it's not something I really care to get a whole deeper meaning into and trying to figure
Right.
out.
Right.
Maybe one day we'll get there and it makes sense to go ahead and go down that avenue, but especially if we start building in other areas in different states and stuff like that. But I mean, the red irons,
Which would be exciting. That would be exciting. Just to move like, state to state.
it's coming.
That's exciting. Just to think about that.
Licensed in 11 states.
You're giving away too much info. But I will tell you anyway. So yeah, the information's out there to get, right? And then it's inserting yourself with the right people. And I know we talked off camera a little bit, but here you are saying you're not really a marketer, but interested in networking, which that's the next level to get into. So whether it's a BNI or a private group or a chamber, there's a lot of advantages to that as well. That's why we did this as well, because we want to, like you said, you're filling a void. We need people here. You want to get your information out. This is a form of marketing your business.
Yeah.
And who knows who's going to see, who's going to see this today.
Absolutely.
So as far as what you want people to know about your company, though, I know you said most of your clients are just straight up homeowners, right?
That or big residential condos, apartments. Yeah.
Size wise, like, is there a project too big for you that you won't take on?
No, we did. I think it was 2023. We did a $25,000 gutter clean out.
A clean out.
Yeah.
My Lord, how many gutters was that?
Lots, lots of feet. I want to say it was in the 50s for buildings, close to 60 buildings.
Wow.
Large, 2-story.
Yeah.
And then you have, obviously, I have high insurance and the factor of how steep is the roof, what type of roof is on it. Is it shingle? Is it metal? Is it, barrel tile? All that factors into how long it takes. An
easier way to go ahead and actually approach is from the roof instead of just getting, a scissor lift or cherry picker or something like that.
Yeah, the lifts would take forever, and a lot of honestly, a lot of properties you can't even really have them
because you have to navigate around vehicles, parking spots.
Correct.
All that, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the lifts, if you're not level, get really wonky, and so the roof is probably the safest way, to be honest. I know I think up north they do a lot of gutter cleaning.
You have to tie off on all of them?
Vacuums, but yeah, yes, you gotta, depending on the.
We need to get him in touch with Dave Luke and get a fire truck with a ladder out there.
Yeah, the ladder truck. That'd be a lot easier. The swing on that.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be awesome. He does have a ladder truck. He does. He's got a few fire trucks. That dude, that's remember Gary Smith retrofitted Eco Green?
Yeah.
He retrofitted a fire truck and he pressure washes roofs.
That's interesting.
And he retrofitted a fire truck. And it's marketing.
Change the industry, man.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Something to think about.
That's awesome. So, do you encounter a lot of gutter guards and stuff like that you end up just absolute trash that people put on?
I would say mostly no.
Yeah?
People sell the leaf guard. There are companies that sell the leaf guard, but then the customer doesn't know to ask, what type are you putting on? Because there's so many different types, right? There's good and there's bad and there's best and whatever. So I love when a customer asks because we use a quality product that does good. It's a middle of the road. There are more expensive. There are much cheaper, but we'll go out, show them a sample. If this isn't what you expected. So that's
something you offer as a service?
A leaf guard, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotcha. But there are bad ones that don't work as well, and
just a little perforated aluminum tops. Yeah,
yeah. It's a good product, but it's got to be the right situation too. And I think one thing that's kind of misleading, I probably blame Leaf Filter for this, to be honest, in their ads, but the idea of if you put Leaf Guard on, no more maintenance, and it's like that's not true. I've literally had customers call me and say, We put the leaf guard on, but they're not working. There's still debris. And, well, it's just sitting. It's not in your gutters. It's sitting on top of the leaf guard.
Right.
You still need to have it blown off. But now we're not scooping everything out. We're just blow and go. You're done. It's cheaper. It's easier.
But you physically still have to go up there, flip them over, get this stuff, or blow it off or whatever.
Blow it off, yeah.
You think there'd be something, my mind just going, like almost on a rail system.
I'm out of there with you.
You push a button, it goes whoop, it flips them off, or something to that effect, or you know what I mean? There's got to be something. Let's go. Let's invent it.
It's a little solenoid.
Right. Just tink, knocks them right off. Micro vibrations to keep, whatever the case is. I'm sure there's so many things out there that could be done, but I told you, the Airheads, they created that something simple. They innovated to look into the plenum.
Oh, really?
They literally patented a piece of plastic, a plenum door, if you will. So no more cutting it out to the inspectors.
Right.
It's a plenum. You put it on there. It cuts it out. You stick it in. Now the inspector could just go, oh, okay, good, and close it. There's so many things out there you can innovate for your own industry.
It'll be mandated by the
and they'll be mandated,
council, yeah.
Right? And then there'll be gazillionaires off of that. Yeah.
So you guys do mostly like 5-inch K, 7-inch K, or
6 is the standard. I think
6?
5 used to be. It's been outdated. 6 is standard size.
Tell when the last time I was in the industry
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, 7 is 7's the larger. If a lot of metal roofs, barrel tile roofs need your 7, just depending on because your barrel tile has probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of overhang typically, depending on the roof and everything. So 7-inch gives you that extra space.
I might have the wrong gutters on my house. That might be an issue.
If they're, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's 1 inch, right? It's less about how much, because the 7-inch gutters are thicker gauge aluminum too.
Right.
So they're thicker. They're going to last longer, being able to hold that weight. But at the end of the day, it's not as much about how much water and weight can the gutters hold. It's, are they pitched correctly to get the water to flow? You know, is the water flowing smoothly? You know, because at the end of the day, you got your downspouts and it has somewhere to go. The water's going to leave, you know, whether you got 6 or 7-inch. It's more dependent on what type of roof you have, how steep, and then square footage too. You know, there's some houses that are smaller you might have a 1,500 square foot house, but if it's one long, let's just say it's completely, it's one long house, no corners or anything, and it's, what do you call those, gable styles?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of square footage. That house, I actually came across one recently. That house might need a 7-inch depending on how much water is truly going into those gutters, even though it's a shingle roof or a 1-story or.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Not super, but
no, but I mean, you don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
For people that aren't in all the time, that's
Well, people don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and like, oh, you just throw a gutter up. Well, that's not the case. I might have a 10-12 pitch, and it's more of a steep, and you got to have a bigger gutter. They don't know.
And I always say we're in the line of preventative maintenance, right? It's foundation issues, structural damage, just way more expensive problems than getting some gutters installed. So, in protecting your outdoor furniture from damage, protecting your pavers from damage.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, though. I mean, I'm horrible about maintaining
maintenance.
Yeah,
Sucks.
just staying on top
Most
of
people
maintenance,
are.
right? So
we're busy.
Like, I know in one section of my house, it had been probably 2 years that I'd not gotten up there and actually cleaned the gutters out. And I had enough stuff sitting up there that was just wet all the time that it went through and rotted out my actual fascia. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a big bolt that's going through the basic gutter, right?
Yeah.
So,
which is much more expensive now to fix than
it
having us
wasn't
out
fun.
for $150 every quarter. You know,
Right.
So really quick. So I've learned so much about businesses that I don't normally think about, like Joe Blow Insulation, Attic Queen. I've never thought about insulation my entire life, or the moving industry, or I'm like, what? But we're around so many different genres of business now. It's
well, and the crazy part is we all have the same issues, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all the same
Yeah.
issues that every business is facing.
Yeah.
And when you really start talking about it, it's setting up a small business has a whole story to it, right? There's a whole process of the beginning 5 years of any company.
yeah.
It follows relatively the same path for everybody. You know, it's like you're saying, it's year one's trying to make sure that you feed yourself. Like, you still exist, you know, and that's when you can kind of start developing on top of that. But I think the real cool part is focusing on that like 5 to 10 year mark where
We're
that's
talking about that.
that's the growth.
Like
right?
like 1 to 5. So we know, like, we have we'll just talk about contract real quick. We have a plan, right? 1 to 5 million, cool. 5 to 10 million, cool. Now you're working a little bit harder when you're going 10 to 20 million. Then a little bit harder, and it's that next level. You're no longer a small
Just hitting
business anymore.
plateaus. I mean,
Yeah.
once you really start thinking about it, any business will get you to a certain point. You're going to plateau until you change something in the business.
Yep.
And it's finding that what that key item is that needs to be changed to get you to the next level that I find incredibly interesting.
A little bit of information. This is back to the Lexington days. I also watched the demise of a company because of the growth and because of the people that were brought in, because of it was time to go to that next level. And then when you go to that next level and you think you're able to step away a little bit, and then someone comes in and completely changes everything it took to get to that level, and then kaput.
that's probably my biggest fear, to be honest. Not fear, but just something I think about is, again, from where I grew up to where I'm at now, I have a lot of people to thank for that. But it's very important to me to not be greedy and just get to a point where I know that I can control and not, for whatever random reason, go under, right? You know, I have more than I ever thought I'd have, which I also struggle with, by the way, because At 32, I've reached a point that I thought might take me till I was 50. I have an amazing wife that I love. I have 2 kids that are healthy. I have my own business now.
That's awesome.
So there's still that drive in me to what's next. How do I get better? How do I get more? But then there's also that part of me.
It's everywhere, dude.
I mean, maybe this goes back to just my religion and my beliefs, but like, there's also that part of me that's like, just be thankful for what you have.
I think Nick and I have this conversation almost every day. Like, seriously, excuse me, almost every day. I said something a while back in a couple of videos, and I said, and I'll speak on faith really quickly. You come to a point where you're like, God, if I can just, right? You have that moment, God, if I can just, God, if I can just, God, if I could just get this. And then you get there, and that's when the gratitude kicks in. And I'm very grateful, like very grateful. And then time goes by, and your mind shifts and changes again. And now it's time to ask God if I can just again. And how many more times are you going to be able to do that to when you could just stop and say, okay, I am grateful for what I have. But I think at your age and at your age right now, there's nothing wrong with wanting more. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. I mean, I'm 45 and I still want more, right? I don't think it will ever truly ever be enough, because it's the mindset of the entrepreneurial spirit.
But more doesn't necessarily mean bigger or more money.
I don't mean that.
Yeah.
It's a fulfillment.
But knowing that, having that self-awareness.
It's a fulfillment. But I am also cognizant and aware of where I am in life and what I have to and who I have to provide for. And I want it to be generational to where they're my kids. I'm not to like spoil them, but I want to make sure they're going to be okay and I did the right thing as well. Because why the hell are we sacrificing all this time away from our families for what?
The only people that are going to remember you worked late are your family. So
you got it. On that note, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I don't know what our podcast is called. It's the Unnamed Podcast.
It's currently the Unnamed Podcast. Still taking votes.
We might stick with that. Who knows? I could see the T-shirts now. But thank you for coming out today,
thank you guys for having me.
Truly appreciate it. And when you do want to talk marketing, whatever, we are there for you on that as well. And then, Nick, I know that we're going to end this podcast, but we have other things to talk about after this as well, about where you and I have been. Because a lot of people ask us questions like, how did you get to where you are? And how do you guys even know about construction? So we're going to be talking about that soon.
We'll shoot that in, a little bit here.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you soon on the next Unnamed Podcast.
I really think that should be the name.
I know. Hold on. I want to hide, dude.
This is just as awkward as I thought it was.
Oh, my God.
You can find me, right? Yep.
Look at this screen. I'm stuck in the corner for an hour. I'm not going to move.
This is a new level for me right now.